this is Cindy from Stamped with Aloha. Today we're going to be making Christmas cards. We're going to be working with the Painted Christmas Suite, where I'll be stamping with the Christmas season stamp set. Now, I'm going to start off with a really simple Christmas card, and then we're going to work our way up to a little bit more intricate cards. But they're all pretty simple because that's kind of my style. But let's go ahead and get started with project number 1. Okay, we are going to begin our stamping with the sentiment. So I'm going to be using Merry Christmas from the Christmas to Remember stamp set. All right, now I'm starting with the sentiment just in case I stamp it crooked, because then I can always flip the card over. And so the sentiment is going to go right there in the bottom right of the card. Okay, looks like I did that good, so we can move on. All right, so then I'm going to take this image from the Christmas season stamp set, and then I'm going to stamp coming in from the side like this, and then I'm going to stamp it again just above that sentiment. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, then I'm going to take another color. This is going to be Granny Apple Green. And with Granny Apple Green, I'm going to grab this image here. I'm going to ink it up, and then I'm going to stamp a cluster of leaves right here. And ink it up again, and then I'm going to stamp a cluster of leaves over here. Okay. All right, for the next color, we're going to use Soft Succulent. And for that, I'm going to get this little image right here, and I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to put one of those right here. And then I'm going to put another one right here. And then I'm going to put one right over here. Okay. And then the next color we're going to work with is Real Red. Okay, and actually this is the last color. So I'm going to ink up these berries. Now these berries will line up with this image here. So I'm going to just carefully position them and then stamp them right on top of that other stamp. It's super simple because these are see-through. Well, let me do it first before I say it's super simple. Okay. All right, yes, that's how it goes. And there we go. All right, so guess what? That is all there is to this card. All right, so you can see that we just did a really pretty border like that. And then we're gonna back it up with a piece of Evening Evergreen. So let me get out my glue. We're gonna mount this to Evening Evergreen. And then I'm going to get a base card, which is a 5.5 by 8.5. I could use dimensionals, but remember, this is our quick and simple card. Okay, and we're making a lot of these for Christmas cards, so we just want to be done with this as quick as possible. And there you go, this card is done. So you could step this card up by adding a couple rhinestones on it, but typically for a Christmas card, it would be best to just leave this nice and flat to make mailing inexpensive and easy. With a pretty card like this, you can also take the envelope and you can grab one or two of those images from the stamp set, and then you can just decorate your envelope and make it look pretty. And then you can do something like that, and you can just make a pretty coordinating envelope. Now, I know you must be thinking like, Cindy, that's a really, really cool combination of colors. And so I want to show you that this is not my original idea. Where I got these colors from is actually from the designer series paper in this collection. So you can, if you flip through the colors here of the paper, let's see, where is it? Aha, right here. Take a look at this piece, okay? And now let's look at our card again. So all of the colors that are in this designer series paper is the same colors that I just stamped on this card. You can see that these images coordinate with the stamp set. Now this paper is called the Painted Christmas, and let me show you the designs in the pack. So you have this one with holly, and then it looks like that. I love that one. And then you have this one, and you have the pine cones, and you have this one that's really unique. And then you turn it over and you have this leaf pattern, which this would be great for all year round. And that's what's kind of fun about this paper. It's Christmassy, but it also could be easily converted to other seasons. And then you have this fun side here. It's very modern. Then we have this one here, and that has that pretty design on the back. And then we have this one here with the pine cones. and that looks like that on the back, okay? So this is the Painted Christmas Designer Series paper. So Designer Series paper is also another great way to make Christmas cards. So in my next card, I'm gonna show you how you can use just a tiny strip of Designer Series paper and a sentiment stamp to make a really simple photo card. So for the photo card, we're gonna start with the same base, which is 5.5 by 8.5 of basic white cardstock, okay? And I'm gonna have the card in this direction. And then I'm gonna grab a piece of that Designer Series paper. This is 2 inches by 4.25 inches. And then I'm going to put some adhesive on the back. And we're gonna put this strip across the bottom here. Next, we're gonna add real red. And so this is 3.75 by 4.25. I'm gonna flip this over and I'm going to add my adhesive to the back. And this will be a mat for our photo. All right, and then I'm gonna take a label. This is from the dies that coordinate with the Christmas season. These are the seasonal label dies. It's a great die set because it has these pieces that cut out all the pretty images in the stamp set like these. But you also have all these great tags as well. Okay, so I die cut one of the small tags with white, and then I'm going to stamp that with the stamp that says, "Have a Holly Jolly Christmas." And I'll be using Evening Evergreen ink for this. So I'm gonna stamp that sentiment right there in the middle of the tag. Okay, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to mount this to another tag from the seasonal label dies. So this is just a slightly larger tag. And I'm gonna glue these two together, okay? And then we're gonna take and we're gonna place a couple dimensionals on the back. And we're gonna stick this right here. Okay, and now this card is all ready to insert a photo. Now let's say that you do not want to do this die cut piece and you would rather just cut paper really quickly. Well, you could do this exact same card and it would look like this. And then you would just have a cut square and you don't have to have the dies because maybe you don't own a die cutting machine. But let's say on this particular card, you want to even embellish it a little bit further. Well, remember we have all these fabulous dies. So if you go ahead and you die cut a couple leaves and berries and put them together, you'll get something like this. And so then what you can do, this is going to add even more dimension to your card. You can take and you can just glue that right there. And you could add rhinestones, but you know, adding rhinestones is adding more height, is adding a little bit more postage because it'll be a little bit thicker. So it just depends on if you're going to pass these out or if you are going to put them in the mail. But you can see that that would look really nice as a little accent. So the seasonal label dies do go really wonderful with this DSP and with this bundle. Okay, for the last card, before I make it for you, I just want to show you one of the images that you didn't see yet. You saw a lot of the pretty leaves and the berries, but there's also a pine cone in this stamp set. So I've stamped it here with crumb cake, and then I'm going to use some early espresso, and I'm going to stamp that over the top, and then you'll get this really pretty pine cone. Okay, so again, what you have with these dies is you have the potential to take the dies and put them over the stamped images. So even on my first card here, you can see there's a die that would cut this out, and there's a die that would cut the whole cluster of berries out. There's also a die that will just cut the berries out, you know, and then, you know, there's a die for all of these images. So this is really a fabulous set of dies. Okay, so what I did just to save time is I went ahead and I cut a bunch of those dies so that you could see how they would look like when they're all cut out, okay? And so now you can see why this particular card is my avid card, because not everybody's gonna wanna die cut all these pieces for one Christmas card, but for that one special person, then this might be the card for you. So we're gonna start with a really simple card base. Again, it's just 5.5 by 8.5 of basic white. Let me use my bone folder here, okay? And then next, I'm gonna take a 4 by 5.25 piece of basic white. And then what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna emboss this. So I'm gonna take my Wintry 3D embossing folder, and I'm gonna place my paper in here. I'm gonna line up the paper at the top of the embossing folder like that. Then I'm gonna close the embossing folder and I'm gonna run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Now, when it is done, it is going to look like this. So you can see that it embosses that really beautiful pattern on the top here, but it leaves the bottom part here nice and flat. So that's going to be perfect for our sentiment. So the first thing that we're going to do for this card is get out my cushion, and we are going to stamp the sentiment Merry Christmas. So let me get my stamp, ink it up with Evergreen ink, and we're going to stamp that in the bottom right corner. All right, next we're going to just take and we're going to flip this around. We're going to add adhesive to the back, and then we're going to glue this down. So already you have a really pretty card base, and it's all ready to be the base for these gorgeous die cut pieces. Okay, so let me go ahead and assemble these for you. Okay, so I have added these gold holly leaves right here that are part of the suite. And then I'm just going to finish this card up, embellishing it with some rhinestones as well as some wonderful gems. Okay, so this card is done, and now we have a really beautiful, heavily embellished card, but it's just going to be something that your crafty friends would really appreciate during the holidays. So we have this card here that uses lots of the embellishments. Then we have our photo card here that would be really quick to make. And if you want to make it even quicker, then you can go ahead and just cut your sentiment portion instead of adding the die cuts. But if you do die cut a couple of embellishments, that makes a fun accent for your photo card. And then of course, my favorite is why not just keep it really simple, and you can create a really pretty card like this, or you can use this pattern and cover an entire sheet of white cardstock, and then you can make your own designer series paper to cut apart and make really fabulous projects for the holiday season. Well, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by to watch my video today. If you're here for the premiere, thank you so much for joining me and for all the support that you've been giving me during this launch week of my rebranded website, stampedwithaloha.com. It's been such a great week, and I've really enjoyed meeting some new friends and being encouraged by all the love and support that you've sent my way. I hope that these projects that I shared with you today will inspire you for your holiday crafting, and be sure to check out my next video because I have even more ideas to share with you using some other fabulous bundles from our July to December 2021 mini catalog. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then, aloha.